So, I mean, I don't know. Do you want to introduce yourself? Do you want me to do it?
Yeah.
I usually let the guests introduce themselves because I never know how to introduce people.
If you want to give it a shot and introduce me, I'd love to hear your take.
Okay.
And then I can fill in the gaps.
All right. So this episode, hey Booners, I'm sorry. I just realized now that I didn't do an intro last episode. It's already out. I don't care. But so this is Danny. I'm sorry. What's your last name?
Cassese.
Cassese. This is Danny Cassese. He's a local Boone artist who I've been stalking on Instagram for like 3 months now.
Oh wow, cool.
Yeah. Well, I've been looking at your account on my personal, and then when I started BoonePod, I was like, I should have this guy on.
Cool.
So yeah, he's a local artist. He does really cool shit. I don't know how to describe it. The stuff you make is awesome.
Thanks. Yeah. It's hard to translate like paintings to audio.
Yeah. I have the same problem when I'm like, the people that are listening can't see my hand gestures.
Yeah.
So I realize it every time I record.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you pretty much nailed it. I'm Danny. I paint, and that's about it. That's all I got going on.
Just the painting?
Yeah. Pretty much. Yeah. Should I start from the beginning, I guess?
If you want to. I mean, I usually let the guests talk about whatever they want, so.
Cool.
So maybe, like, when did you start painting?
I first started painting about 3 years ago, I guess, when I came to college here at App. I took a intro to visual arts class, and before that I was never really into art. And we watched this documentary on this artist, Basquiat, who's a really like incredible, one of the greatest American painters ever. And he was big in like the 70s, and he just had this style that was like no one had ever really seen before. It's kind of like folk art and a lot of like indigenous art and just very like raw. And abstract. It was the first time I had seen art like that ever, and yeah, something about it just like woke a part of me up, and I was like, oh my god.
You're like, I need to start doing this.
Yeah, it was that was just kind of it, and I started painting, and slowly got more and more into it over the past couple of years.
And then I saw you started posting your stuff on Instagram sometime. I think it was like February 2020 or something? Sometime during 2020, right?
Yeah. So it was like, I'd been painting for maybe like 6 or... Yeah, I started painting at school, and then COVID happened, and I went home, and then painted a little bit here and there, and then, as time went on, I eventually like started an Instagram for it and started sharing.
It's been
art.
history ever since.
Yeah.
That is one thing that I've noticed, that a lot of people that I've talked to on the podcast, off podcast, they'll be like, yeah, no, we started a lot of this during COVID.
Yeah.
I feel like that's where most people nowadays got their hobbies that they do now is because of COVID.
Yeah.
It's the only good thing COVID did.
It's such a... Yeah. It's going to be incredible. I feel like in like 5 or 10 years, if another, pandemic hasn't happened, like...
Or if we aren't dead from global warming.
Yeah. 10 years if we're still around and still like a functioning civilization, it'll be cool to like look back at this period of time and like, I don't know, just see how many musicians and artists and like...
Just a massive
writers
boom of creativity right around when COVID started.
Yeah, I think they'll definitely be able to see some sort of like correlation. Like, I think in even like 20, 30 years when we start seeing like the adults that like came out of COVID and what they're achieving, like the big, musicians and artists and whoever else, I think they're all going to have that similar story of like COVID is kind of what pushed them inward towards art.
It's the only good. It's like COVID, the beginning of COVID, like around March, was one of the weirdest times in everyone's lives, because you couldn't leave the house.
Yeah.
You couldn't do anything, and I feel like 50% of people were just like, all right, I'm going to start doing something.
Yeah. Yeah, I gave a lot of time for like trial and error. I think that's like, I think trial and error is the way that like artists find their art.
Oh yeah.
It's never like, I think it's rare that people kind of just like are born and are like, yeah, I'm just gonna like do music for the rest of my life, like without having to go through the trial and error of getting there.
Oh yeah.
Or like internally being drawn towards it. Obviously, people are like, pushed certain ways by parents or whatever. But I think like trial and error is the way that like people really find art, and just COVID gave time.
Yeah, COVID gave people ample amount of time to just throw shit at the wall and see what sticks.
Yeah, and that's where art comes from. It's almost never intentional.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't for me, and pretty much anyone I've ever talked to about art. It's like no one sits down and's like, okay, I'm gonna be an artist, and if they do, they're usually like a very bad artist.
They're usually kind of pretentious too, from what I've seen.
Yeah, you get people like Damien Hirst, who's like a contemporary artist, and his whole thing is he just takes dead animals and puts them in like glass cages, and like that's his art, and he's like,
this is art.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's terrible. And so there's obviously a lot of stuff like that, but I mean, with any profession, if you're in it for like the money and the attention, you're gonna be bad at what you do. It's not just art. It's like,
I've heard from a lot of different people that if they do a hobby, as soon as they start doing it for the money, it kind of ruins it.
Yeah,
because you just for a band or something, as soon as they start doing it just for money, I imagine that strips away a lot of your like creative. I mean, not only your creative freedom, but also just what you want to do.
Yeah, and I don't think a lot of people get into it for the money, but I think it's money can start pulling you towards it. It has a very strong like gravitational pull.
Hey, it's what the world runs on.
Yeah, it's really easy to get sucked up in it, and I feel like Boone, as like a whole, has gotten very sucked up into it. Like the whole music scene, I feel like there's been a huge shift in it from like when I first came to college here. Like I remember, prior to COVID, there's always like small house shows going on all over the place, and you'd go to like see your friend's band and hang out. And now it's like every single show is like there's almost never house shows. And if they are, they get way too overcrowded because everyone's dying to go to one. Yeah. The rest of the time, you got to pay $10 to get in.
Or even like $10 just for the entry charge.
Yeah.
And then from what I've seen, from most of the bands that I've talked to, most house shows don't last long at all. Like most venues they'll be there for like maybe 2 weeks, get shut down, and then they'll move on to somewhere else. But it's just this continual cycle of getting shut down. And it doesn't help that most of the venues in Boone, like the big venues like Legends or Lily's or whatever, they're booked months in advance by all these big shows. So most of the big shows you see in Boone are like the same 3 bands.
Yeah.
So it's like Run Sun, Kiss It Make It Better, and like I forgot the name of it, but there's one other band. And it's like those 3. And it's like that's all you're going to see in Boone.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with bands like being able to play and being able to make a living from it, but I think like so much focus has gone to that. I just want to I wish we could go back to like the underground stuff.
Well, it's much harder to do that now.
Yeah.
It's like cuz like every house show, somebody's going to call the cops. It's going to get shut down.
Yeah.
Like I remember when I'm scouting for people to like ask on, I'll always see a bunch of like venue page Instagrams.
Oh yeah.
And like 95% of them are like in the top bio. It's like, sorry, we're shut down. I'm like, sweet.
Yeah.
And it doesn't help that all the house shows now, it's like some random dude's house, 30 minutes out of town.
Yeah.
There's no parking and you can only beep there.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's just rough, and not that I don't think it's anyone's fault, but I think it's just another one of those things where not that money is a focus for the bands, but
it definitely is like a big factor.
Yeah, it's a big factor because you need to be able to make a living, but yeah, it's just something about it was like all of a sudden people started. I don't want to comment too much on it because I'm not too involved in it, so. I don't want to say too much because I'm not like too into the scene. It's just like my observations. So yeah, I don't want to.
I will say though, I think there's only one band that I can think of where it's like, there's only one band where it's like that is a commercial business band, and it's who is it? Run Sun. They are, I think.
I haven't seen him play, but I've seen the stickers. I thought it was like a clothing brand.
It is. It's almost. It's because it's become one of those things where most people don't even know them for their music.
Oh.
Where it's like people know them for their stickers or their, like they have a whole fashion line.
Yeah, that's what I've seen.
I'm not saying that's bad.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I've never heard their music. I've never heard anyone talk about Run Sun that talks about their music.
Yeah.
It's always their T-shirts or their stickers around town.
I actually didn't know they made music, but yeah, I think kind of. Yeah, the art as a whole thing, if the money kind of starts to become the focus, then everything. I struggle with that too.
Yeah.
I'm not immune to that. I'll start like, I'll sell a couple paintings and then get really like hyped up about it, and then I'm not selling paintings, and so then it's like you get frustrated because you're not selling paintings, and because you're like frustrated about money, then you're not making good art. Because you're not making good art, nobody's buying anything. And
it's just a whole cycle.
Yeah. That's kind of what I've experienced when money kind of becomes too important. Mm-hmm. Or like when you hold too much importance or like value to it.
Mm-hmm. I will say, luckily, one of the things that I've noticed about a lot of Boone bands, or at least a lot of the newer ones that have been formed in like the last few months, most of them are like really cool. Like most of the band, like a few of the bands I've interviewed, they're very young. Like Trailhead or Gaining Composure.
Yeah.
Both of those bands, maybe 2 or 3 months old.
Cool.
They're very talented. They're very cool.
Yeah.
But they're just not very. I don't think they've gotten to the point where money plays a factor in it yet.
Oh yeah.
And I will say that's probably a big deciding factor for a lot of bands. It's like you take one of two paths: one where you make money, or one where you make the art you want to make.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, especially around here in Boone, you're not gonna. It'd be hard to find a compromise that lets you do both.
Yeah. 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 It's just yeah. Yeah, I think you said it well.
I mean, what do you think about the big art scene here? Not music, but just like art.
I think there's a really cool art scene here. There's a really cool underground gallery I'm a part of called Nth Degree Gallery. I don't know if you've been there. It's
I have not, but I think I've heard of it before. Yeah.
It's 683 West King Street. It's right on King Street, and you'll kind of like, if you live in Boone, you'll discover it when you're supposed to. Mm-hmm. Like, it's literally a doorway. It's on King Street. It's just this tan doorway that's in between Common Good and that like new crystal shop. Mm-hmm. And it's super easy to miss, but on First Fridays it's open, and you go through the door and there's just like this huge wonky staircase, and then it's a big like gallery, and there's artist studios up there, and we just had the 25th year anniversary. Mm-hmm. Like, it's been there forever.
Oh, that's awesome.
And that's kind of like where I've found my place in the Boone like art scene, if that makes sense. Because I dropped out recently, but I was studying social work, so I wasn't really a part of like the student art scene. But yeah, I think Boone just kind of has a little bit of everything. I don't think there's anything I think the music is probably the strongest art scene here, but in terms of like visual arts, I feel like this gallery, Nth Gallery, is the best, like, is the most, like, central kind of thing. That's where a lot of students come there, but there's also a lot of, like, local, like, professional artists and just, like, community members who have been here for a long time. Yeah. So, yeah.
I'll definitely have to check it out sometime. You said it was open the first Friday?
Yeah,
we have the first Friday of every month?
Mm-hmm. First Friday of every month there's a show. We just had the Halloween show that was really fun. And, yeah, we have a show coming up the first Friday of November and December.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'll definitely have to check it out sometime.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Because that's one thing, I've talked about it before on the podcast. You know the 2 graffiti tunnels on campus?
Yeah.
I talked about it in like my first ever episode. That is one of my favorite, those are like some of my favorite spots on campus.
Yeah.
Because I love going there, and I think in the first episode I equated it to something like an old style like forum board.
Yeah.
But it's like in person. Because you go there, whatever's happening in real life, whatever's happening in politics, whatever big social event, somebody's going to put something on there about it.
Yeah.
I mean, it does get wiped every month because they paint over it every month.
Yeah.
But it is really cool going there, just saying like, you know, you'll see one thing that says "fuck Elon Musk," or then you'll see one that's like, "This is the best drawing I've ever seen in my life."
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's really cool.
Yeah, it is really cool. You're right. I used to live in Justice when it was still up, and that was, I had to walk through the tunnel like every day to get to class or whatever. And yeah, I loved seeing.
You walk through, there's something new every day, basically.
Yeah, and just seeing the way that like thoughts and ideas interact over time, because like sometimes someone will make a giant like mural, like graffiti tag that's beautiful, and it'll take a while for somebody to like start painting over it, and the rest of the time, you know, it's like just whatever
Like
garbage.
here's a dig.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
it is definitely a mixed bag, but it is really cool.
yeah.
I just wish there were more places like that on campus. Like, I
Yeah.
honestly wish there was a place on campus where they just set aside, like, here's a wall.
Yeah.
Here you can put whatever you want on it.
Yeah.
But I feel like the reason why they probably don't do that, and the probably reason why they do let people do it in the tunnels, is because people driving past they can't see what's in the tunnels.
Yeah, true.
But if it were on a wall, somebody driving past could see it. So if I had to guess, that's probably why they haven't.
Yeah.
But that would be like 9 times cooler.
Yeah, it would be really cool to have like a big mural wall. Apparently they're supposedly getting some murals around downtown Boone soon, like on
That'd
walls.
be awesome.
Yeah, which I think
Because there's not a ton of them.
I don't think there's really any besides that big like green stupid Welcome to Boone sign that's like on the corner of Depot Street and King Street that everyone takes pictures in front of, which isn't really a mural. It's just like a Boone sign.
Oh, yeah. I was trying to think of what you're talking about. I do know what you're talking about.
Yeah. But there's not really any art downtown. There was like that old mural that was on the side of like High Life, but I don't even know what that was. It was like just weird shapes and
Boone definitely needs more places for people to just put art.
yeah.
Because I will say that most of the art and like murals and stuff does kind of focus around King Street. Just because most 99% of people that come to Boone, they're going to be going through King Street.
Yeah.
Because that's where all the big stuff is. But I wish there was more stuff around town.
Yeah.
But, you know, Boone being as small of a city as it is, I don't know. There's
Yeah.
probably not a ton of room for it, especially with App State expanding as rapidly as they can to get as many freshmen as they can.
Yeah.
I love it. Every year they're like, yeah, we're going to have 500,000 more freshmen. It's like, thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks for raising tuition, guys. Awesome.
It's funny though. I learned recently that, back, however long ago, when the population of Boone was 1,000, the school also had a population of 1,000. So it was the same ratio back then of like the school kind of like matching and doubling the town. I learned that because I went to the theater on King Street and they had this thing and it was saying that like when the Appalachian Theater was built, it could house the entire population of Boone. Or like almost, because it was like 1,000 people and the place can seat like 900 something. Which is crazy.
I wonder, I was talking with one of my friends about this the other day, how much percentage of Boone's population leaves during the big breaks? Like is it like 50% of Boone, or like even probably more? Like probably like what, 60, 70% of Boone's population leaves like the first week of December or something?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
It is crazy how much, because I don't know why I like to, but I like to compare Boone and Asheville a lot, because in my eyes, they're like nearly the same city, right?
Yeah.
The only difference is that Asheville is what Boone would be if Boone was bigger.
Yeah.
It's the exact same thing. But they're very different in like one way, in that Boone without App State is nothing, right?
Yeah.
But then Asheville without it's 3 colleges is still Asheville.
Yeah.
It's still huge. It's still massive. But like
Yeah.
Boone's identity is like so tied to App State that without it, it would be nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, there would
the
be-
college really has its hooks in the town and the whole surrounding area.
Like without Boone, without App State, I don't think Boone would even be like recognized on maps, probably.
Yeah.
Because I mean, even before App State was a thing, Boone barely had anybody. It was just like a few houses up here.
Yeah.
And then now, because we're on the top of a mountain with nearly nowhere else to expand, that's why App State is like buying so many properties outside of Boone.
Yeah.
Like they're opening a new campus in Hickory.
Yeah, I heard about
That's
that.
like, it's awful.
I drove
looks
by
terrible.
it, actually. Yeah, I drove by it.
It looks ugly.
Yeah, it looked like an office building or like a
That's what it is.
pharmaceutical company.
That was the building that they bought wasn't. It was an office building,
Yeah.
and then they bought it, and they're like, "Here, we're gonna put some classes in here." It looks ugly, but
Yeah.
I don't know. Boone would be nothing without App State, and it's crazy to me how intertwined they are. I mean, with App State making more money than God,
Yeah.
I don't know. It is. I don't know. For a town like that, it is crazy how much of a like unique culture Boone has.
Yeah.
Because compared to other college towns, Boone has a very, like, it's just a cool culture between the music, the art, everything. Boone just has a really cool culture.
Yeah. I will say, Boone has something for everybody. Yeah, there's kind of like the extreme of every like stereotype of white person. Like there's like you get the
You get the stoner white dude.
yeah, the truck freaks, frat boys.
I remember I
like-
was talking to somebody that goes to another college, and they were like, "You can always point out an App State student.
Yeah.
You can point them out.
Yeah.
We have a unique way of dressing."
Yeah.
I remember I was talking to someone, and they said every single man in Boone either has the longest hair possible or a buzz cut.
Yeah.
It's one or the other. There's no in between.
Yeah.
Everybody in Boone has long beards, long hair,
Yeah.
living up the mountaineer lifestyle, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I like it so much. I fucking love App State. It's great.
Yeah.
It's just the people are cool up here. Still waiting. I don't know. It is kind of crazy that it is absolutely flooding today.
Yeah.
It
It's
is.
pretty incredible.
Like a bunch of stuff on campus got shut down because
Yeah.
of how much it's raining. I remember my class, my accounting class that I'm taking right now. My teacher came in. She was like, "I was this close to canceling," and I'm like, "Why didn't you?"
Yeah.
I'm like, "Why didn't you cancel?"
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, like we were talking about before the podcast, when I was walking into my first class today, like nearly up to my knee, my leg was wet because of
Yeah.
how much it was raining. I had an umbrella. I'm wearing like rain boots and everything.
Yeah.
Nope. I don't know. It is. I know on days like that, it surprises me how empty campus is sometimes.
Yeah.
Because especially today, like in the library, because it is Friday, there's nobody here.
Yeah.
Like on the third floor where I usually reside, there's maybe like 6 people on the whole floor.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to be here for much longer after, but usually during the week, there's more people here at like 1 a.m. than there is in here right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't really know. I can't really relate. I dropped out.
Okay. How long were you going here before you dropped out?
Yeah. I was here for like 3 years, and I had a year and a half left. I took a semester off like a year and a half ago or something, and then came back and was trying to tough it out. But yeah, I couldn't do it anymore.
What degree were you going for?
I was studying social work,
Oh, okay.
which is like what I would do if I was in school, but I just can't. I just don't want to be in school right now. I don't think. Or I don't think. I know. Like I feel.
I was going to say,
I can't be in
if you
school.
just thought, then you'd probably still
Yeah.
be enrolled.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I totally get that. In between, so I graduated from high school in 2020. Right,
Yeah.
that's when I graduated, and then I was in college. I was at a community college for a year, and then I graduated from there in May of 21. And then I realized when I was after I graduated, I'm like, I am not going to App State in the fall. I'm taking the rest of the year off. Because up until that point, I'd had no like real breaks since the beginning of high school. Because the high school I went to was like intertwined with the community college that I was going to. Mm-hmm. So I was taking those community college classes over the summer. So like every summer I'd have like 2 or 3 classes I'd be taking.
Yeah.
So I hadn't had any like real breaks since like middle school, right? Yeah. So I had that realization like a few days before graduation, and I was like, I'm taking the rest of the year off. Yeah. So I took the rest of the year off to just work and just hang out. And I will say it was awesome.
Yeah.
It was awesome to take a break. And then I started back here. I came here in January and been going strong ever since.
Nice.
But it was really nice to just take the rest of the year off.
Yeah.
Just to work. And it was, because a lot of my friends that were going here at the time, they're like, so Mason, what do you do now since you're taking the rest of the year off? I'm like, I go to work and I play video games.
Yeah.
And that's all I did. And it was awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, my big like kind of a like inner struggle with it was like I was just going back and forth in my head for like 2 years. It was like after COVID started, that was another thing that COVID changed. Was like I loved being in school, and then during COVID, during the lockdown, like people did not want to be like no students were engaged in learning, no teachers were engaged in teaching. It was just like people were just like showing up because they felt like they had to, and I just got so tired of it. And I feel like that sentiment kind of just like grew within me, and I just like found myself, even when we came back to in person, I was just so disengaged from being at school and being in classes and stuff. And I just kind of had the realization of like I was trying to convince myself to push through school, but I realized like it'd be for nothing. I would get through school so that I could paint and make art, and so that I could pursue art as a career. And so I was like, well, why am I pushing to get this degree that I have no plans of like using when I graduate, that I'm not like fully engaged in the learning? It's just like, it was like a kind of an obvious choice for a while, but it's also hard when you're taught, from elementary school, like that you are on a set route of, go to high school, you go to college, and you get a degree, and then you can do whatever you want afterwards. Yeah. And so like deviating from that was difficult.
I totally get what you mean when you say like COVID like ruined school for you. It happened. It happened to me too. Yeah. Because COVID happened when I was in my senior year of high school, right?
Yeah.
So we were like maybe a month and a half into the semester, and then we're like, all right, you're gonna go on a 2 weeks long spring break.
Yeah.
And then I never set foot back into that school ever again.
Yeah.
And I remember, I do want to say that maybe the first, like month and a half, or maybe first 2 months of COVID, where everybody was still getting used to staying inside all the time.
Yeah.
I do want to say I do think that was honestly kind of nice.
Yeah.
Like at least the first month, it was nice.
Yeah.
It was kind of like a novel thing for like most people, where you're staying inside for 99% of the time. Yeah. You leave to go do one thing and then you come back. It was honestly kind of nice, but then I totally get what you're saying, where the next semester I had all of my classes online.
Yeah.
And I was totally, completely disengaged.
Yeah.
And even then, even when we did come back, even when I had like one in-person class, it was extraordinarily hard for me to actually like pay attention to the class, because I was so used to taking online classes.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's something that I haven't been able to even now I'm still struggling with it, I think. But it has definitely been really hard for me to come back and be in classes and learn something. Because back my junior year of high school, I was doing great. Like I was totally engaged in all my classes.
Yeah.
I was doing fine. I barely ever missed any of my homework. But then as soon as COVID happened, it ruined it.
Yeah.
And I'm doing better now, but like I was definitely having a much harder time getting back into school.
Yeah.
But the first month where I literally did one assignment a week and played video games all day was pretty nice.
Yeah.
I will say that was pretty nice.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I was in the same boat. I was in my freshman year at App when and I went through the same thing. Spring break got extended and just hung out at home for the next year.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, everybody did.
Yeah.
Everybody just hung out at home doing whatever.
Yeah.
A lot of people found hobbies that they're probably still doing today. People like me played video games.
Yeah.
I will say, COVID was really good for me getting caught up on all the video games I wanted to play.
Yeah.
It was fantastic for that, I will say.
Yeah, I hadn't played. I kind of got back into playing games during COVID because I like used to be so like big into them in middle school and early high school, and then I kind of fell off for a couple of years, and then I got a PlayStation during COVID and played through that God of War game.
Oh, the God of War 2018?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's really good.
That game was incredible.
I
Apparently the new one is even better. It just came out, but
I need to. There's so many games now that I'm like, oh, I want to play this, but it's like they're all like $60, and I'm like, this would not be a good financial thing for me.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be hard to justify buying a game now.
Yeah, it's like I've got.
It's like do I buy a video game or do I pay my?
It's do I
electricity and internet bill?
Yeah. Do I buy a video game or do I just not buy groceries for a week? I don't know. So I don't know. I'm guessing you're not. Are you big into games now? You kind of just not playing them at all.
I rented God of War from here because I wanted to play it again, and it just made me like angry. Like I just can't play. I just it just brings out the worst in me because I just get so frustrated and.
Yeah, no, I know. I get exactly what you're saying. I know a few people that are like that.
Yeah,
well, when they play games, they do get kind of frustrated.
Yeah, well, it's most games I'm fine, but it's like if God of War, there's just like this because I beat the main story, and so I was like trying to do the really hard extra tasks of like beating these things, and it was just so insanely difficult. Like I sat there for like an hour and a half trying to beat this one boss thing, and at the end of the hour and a half, after I finally beat it, I got no satisfaction, and I was just like,
you're like, all right, I'm done.
I was just like pent up and like frustrated, and there was no release from like finally beating that level. I was just like pissed off for like an hour. And so after that, I was like, okay, I'm returning this, and I'm probably never gonna play a video game for a while because it just like didn't feel good.
Are you? So I know you're an artist. Are you big? Are you big into any movies right now?
Yeah. I'm always trying to find stuff. That's kind of where I get a lot of inspiration for paintings. Is like through consuming like other types of art, watching movies and TV, and listening to music.
What's your favorite movie?
I don't. I can give I don't have a favorite because I don't think I have a favorite, but like top 3 to 5 I've seen recently. I really loved Nope. I saw that in the movie theater.
Yeah, Nope was awesome.
That movie.
I went to go watch it with
sick.
one of my friends, and I remember we got out of the movie, and I was like, "Wow, that was awesome. That was really good." And he looked at me. He's like, "I hated that."
Yeah.
He was like, "That was awful."
I thought that movie was incredible because I went into it with like high expectations and was kind of let down the first time, and I kind of knew that it was my own fault. So I went back and saw it a second time and really loved it. So yeah, I loved that movie. And I saw another movie I really loved was called Under the Silver Lake with Andrew Garfield. Really incredible movie.
I don't think I've ever heard of that one. Is it good though?
It's really good. It has very mixed reviews, but I loved it because it's like this kind of like noir detective kind of movie where Andrew Garfield's just this like burnout in LA.
Okay, well, if it's like a noir movie, then I do need to watch it.
It's really good. And he basically like kind of gets involved with his neighbor, and she ends up just like disappearing, and her whole apartment's cleared out, and he finds this like weird symbol on the wall, and someone comes in and takes some stuff and leaves, and he starts tailing them, and it just leads down this whole like rabbit hole of weird occult celebrity like Hollywood hidden messages. Like the movie is wild, and it's just like you just get like so lost in the movie, and it's one of the best movies I've seen in a while because it was first time in a while I'd seen something where I just felt like I was watching this like story unfold, and the more it was unfolding, the more there was to unfold. Like it was just like it was crazy, and yeah, that's probably one of my favorite movies I've seen in a while. And yeah, and then I've been watching True Detective recently. I never saw it.
Oh, okay.
I've been watching the first season with some friends and my girlfriend, and that's been really good. I
haven't really seen many movies recently because I just haven't been to. I've seen one recently, and then I haven't gone to the theaters recently.
Yeah.
Just because there's a bunch of movies. I'm one of those guys that honestly, if I could, I probably would go see every movie in theaters.
Yeah.
Just like every time there's a new one, even if I'm not interested in it, I'm like, all right, I'll go watch that.
Yeah.
But I just haven't had the time.
Yeah.
Because of school and doing this, like I just haven't had a ton of free time to go do it.
Yeah.
Like I know, I noticed that I was getting really into doing this like earlier this week when one night I was sitting there editing an episode or I was making something for this podcast up until like 1 or 2 in the morning. I'm like, man, I'm really into this, huh?
Yeah.
Because this is, at the end of the day, it is kind of just like a hobby for me.
Yeah.
But I realized I was like, wow, I'm getting really into this hobby.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. It is a very personal project for me because I'm like, I do want to do this. And then if people listen along the way, that's fine with me.
Yeah.
I'm still shocked every time I put out an episode and people listen to it. I'm like, what the fuck? You guys like this?
Yeah.
And then recently I've been experimenting with more... I don't know. My roommate calls it weird stuff that I post on the BoonePod Instagram page, but I like it.
Oh yeah, no, I've been liking the little man. It reminds me of like
the bumpers.
Yeah, it reminds me of like Adult Swim.
That is 100% where I got the inspiration from.
Yeah.
Because Adult Swim is very nostalgic for me. Because I don't know, I just remember laying there, just in middle school or even elementary school, just laying there at night. And then I think Adult Swim came on at like 10 o'clock or something. 10 o'clock or 9 on Cartoon Network, I don't know. But I remember sitting there and the Adult Swim to come on and I'd watch it. I probably wasn't supposed to be.
Yeah.
But I'd watch it and like that, the Adult Swim stuff is very nostalgic for me.
Yeah.
And one thing I remember from those is distinctly the bumpers that they do.
Yeah.
And I'm like, ever since then, I love the way they do it. I love the music that they use. I love everything about them.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what if I keep making these? And I just keep... Originally, I was going to try and post one every day, but then I'm like, that would probably fill up the Instagram page too much.
Yeah.
So I've been posting them every now and then.
Cool. Yeah.
So, but yeah. I like them. If people think they're weird, I'm probably going to keep doing them.
Yeah, no, I really like them. I thought they were cool.
There was one that got like 150 views, and I was like, whoa.
Well,
I was like, I'm famous.
yeah.
But I remember once somebody reached out to me and they were like, wow, he was like, the music you use on these is really weird. I'm like, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Because it's not, the music I use on those is completely different from the bands I interview. Because, I don't know, my music taste is all over the place. But recently, over the past year, I've gotten like really hard into drum and bass. Mm-hmm. I'm a freak for drum and bass. So I use it, it's like, if I'm ever editing a video, I can almost guarantee you that's what I'm listening to.
Cool.
But because I'm like, I don't know about you, but the music I listen to changes like every month.
Yeah.
It's like my favorite song is this month, and my favorite song is this the next month.
Yeah.
I don't know. How are you about music?
I'm kind of the same way. I kind of get like hyper fixated on artists, like on like a monthly basis. Yeah. I kind of will find an artist I haven't paid much attention to before, and I'll get like hyper fixated on them, mm-hmm. and that'll kind of like shape my music taste until I find that next artist that like, I just can't stop listening to. Like, the past artists I got really into was the band The Doors.
Mm-hmm.
I'd never really given them much attention before, and then I just like. Yeah, just went down a big rabbit hole, and every time that happens, I like watch as many documentaries as I can find, and that's kind of how I've always been with music. I just like will get super hyper fixated on
like one artist.
Yeah,
I remember I wasn't. This is gonna sound weird to say. I was not at all into music until, like, I honestly want to say, like, maybe my freshman year of high school.
Yeah.
Like, up until that point, I don't know, I just didn't listen to music.
Yeah.
Especially in, like, elementary school or, like, even early middle school. I did not listen to music at all.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't have a Spotify account until, like, my freshman year of high school.
Yeah.
Like, I would just listen to whatever was on the radio. But I
Yeah.
And then I remember, ever since then, I've gotten really big into music. I mean, especially doing this.
Yeah.
Obviously, everybody I have on, I listen to all their stuff, regardless of how much stuff they have out. Because
Yeah.
I understand that these are, like, college bands that, like, you know, they probably don't have a lot of stuff out. There's a few exceptions. There's a few bands that I've had on where, like, they have like a feature length album.
Yeah.
You know, I'll listen to all their stuff, but, like, I've gotten really big into just music in, like, the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Really big into it. So, if you ever hear a song that I use on the Instagram for, like, a bumper or something, it's probably a song that I'm, like, really hard listening to.
Cool.
I will say, I don't want to reveal many of my secrets on how I make the things that I do, but most of the music I have for the bumpers is just... It is just video game music. You wouldn't be able to tell. I pick stuff that very stereotypically does not sound like, you know, when you think of a song from a video game, I don't pick stuff that sounds like it. But I promise you, all of the songs that I use are from video games.
Wow.
Because, I mean, the video games I used to play back when I was a kid probably really shaped the way the music that I listen to now.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but... You know, I realized this entire time, we've gone this entire time, and I wanted to ask you this the whole time, is like how you do your art. Like, I know you said you got a lot of inspiration from a lot of other songs, movies you watch, but, like,
Yeah.
what's your usual process? Is it different?
That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Is it different every time you do it?
Yeah. It always kind of depends on what I'm going through and what I'm kind of consuming. My general process is just making stuff. Like, it's just kind of like creating stuff.
Do you just sit down and be like, all right, I'm going to make something?
Yeah. Yeah. It never feels like a decision. It's more like, okay, I've got the morning off of work. I'm just going to go to the studio and I'll go hang out there. And I don't always paint, but try and make something at least. Like,
at least get, like, some idea of what you're making.
Yeah, it'll be either I'm drawing, or lately I've been making a lot of clothing.
I have noticed that the stuff you make with clothing is awesome.
Thanks.
That's some of my favorite stuff that you make.
Thank you. I just started doing it like last week. So yeah, I've been making a lot of clothes lately. Most of the time it comes back to painting. But yeah, my process is kind of just like listening to music or putting on a movie and trying to just create and not really think too much about what I'm doing.
That's what I do a lot.
Yeah.
Especially when I'm, most of the bumpers that I make, it's just, I'll just be like, all right, I need to make a bumper.
Yeah.
And then I'll just come up with something. I'm like, how would Adult Swim do it? And then I just do it. Like the one I made today, I'm very proud of.
Yeah.
But, like, even when I'm editing this podcast, I don't know, there's not much thought put into it.
Yeah.
Like, because I edit and everything, but, like, it's not like, I usually don't do a ton of editing to the actual audio itself. I'll make it sound better.
Yeah.
But I won't, like, I usually don't, like, unless the person I'm interviewing, like, asks specifically, like, hey, can you cut this out or something. I usually try and leave in the whole conversation.
Yeah.
Because it's like the people, I imagine at least, the people that are listening are especially, like, if with a band or, like, maybe you, the people that are listening who are, like, really big fans of the people that I have on, they can listen to them and be like, all right, here's the whole conversation.
Yeah.
And not, like, cherry-picked parts and pieces of it, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like we were talking about before. When I have people on the podcast, the focus of the podcast is not me.
Yeah.
It's, like, you.
Yeah.
So, and I want to highlight that. Like, I mean, even when I ask people to be on, I'm like, this is what I do. I like to highlight people, the cool people in Boone that do cool things. And every time I have someone on, it is like, I don't know how to describe it, but, like, it's a show of support from me.
Yeah.
It's like, if I have you on, I love the stuff you make, right?
Cool.
And I wouldn't ask someone, like, if someone made music or if someone made art, that I just straight up, I'm like, I hate this. I would not ask them on. But like
Yeah.
everybody I've had on is so cool and creative, and I don't know, I just like highlighting that.
Cool.
I will say we are probably getting close to the end here.
Cool.
So what I like to do in the last 5 minutes is I like to give the people that I have on like 5 minutes to shout out whoever you want to shout out.
Okay.
So anybody cool, anything local, anything you want to promote, just whatever you want to do, go ahead and shout that out.
Nth Degree Gallery on King Street, 683 West King Street. Come to the shows. It's a completely like non-profit gallery. That's the only way it's survived. It's there for art, and it's there for people who make art, and it's there for people who like looking at art. It's probably the best place in Boone that exists. So come on first Fridays to Nth Gallery and bring $1 or $2 to put in the donation jar so we can keep our lights on. You don't have to. It's a free show. There's also usually food and wine and beer. So even more incentive to come. Huzzah Books in the back. Huzzah Books and 641 RPM, the record store. Go there and buy records. And now in the back of it, there's a bookstore. My friend Jason has opened. Go there, buy books. And shout out to my girlfriend, Kate, and that's about it. That's all I got.
Right. I always really like listening to the things that people shout out, because some people are like shout out mom, shout out dad. One guy was like shout out God. I don't know. It's really I just like listening to the stuff that people shout out.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll definitely come and check. I'll come out and check that art gallery. So
Yeah.
when's the next time they're having something?
It'll be the next first Friday. So what month? Fucking month I mean.
It's November, yeah. So the first Friday in December.
Yeah, first Friday of December. Come to the first Friday of December. It's this artist, Greg Smith, who's like a local professional artist who was I think he was a part of the gallery a long time ago, but his art is so cool. And you just gotta come out and see it. I'm not gonna even try and like explain what it looks like.
I will for sure be there.
I've been looking.
I'll be there.
Yeah, this show is gonna be incredible. I've been like looking forward to it for months. I'm so excited for it.
All right. So usually what I do is I like to have the guest I have on help me do the outro.
Okay.
So my outro is "See you later, Booners." That's what I call my fan base.
Cool.
Booners, because their parents are the Boomers.
Cool.
They are Booners.
Cool.
So if you just on 3, if you want to do like "See you later, Booners," and then we'll end it.
Cool.
The last thing we do.
Cool.
So do you want to do the countdown?
You can do it.
All right. 1, 2, 3. See you later, Booners.